Hey everyone, today I'm back with another drawing video, but with only crayons. No pencil lines, no erasing, just crayon-y waxy goodness. Really random cough. In this video, I'm bringing 3 different desserts to life with a bunch of different colors. Let me know in the comment section below what your favorite sweet treat to eat is. Before we get into this, if you're not up to date, I just posted a really huge Play-Doh sculpture as well as a large art supply haul with a bunch of updates about things that I'm going to be doing on my channel soon. But I did forget to mention Rectus Journal is coming back. I'm very, very excited. Woohoo! So this is something you guys have to look forward to. If you never want to miss a new upload of mine, please turn that bell on, give it a ring. Also subscribe to become a part of the SoCraftastic family, even though those don't always send out. It's still cool to be subscribed though. I have no clever transitions, so let's just get into the drawings. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm using just crayon for these drawings, doodles, whatever you want to call them. For the initial sketching instead of pencil, I'm using a peach crayon, and looking back on this, I would recommend that if you know the color of what you're going to be drawing, to use that color very lightly instead, because on some of these drawings I could see the peach through. I do start as light as possible because you can't really erase crayon. You can kind of scrape it off a little, but it'll always be there. So then I go over a little bit darker when I'm comfortable with the line work. And here are the other 2 pieces that I'm going to be working on in this order in the video. So stay tuned if you want to see me color in all 3 of these pieces. I do think that the first one, this popsicle, is my weakest one of the video, so don't judge me on the popsicle, please. Now I'm going to get started coloring in the popsicle. I chose a light pink for this, and you do want to choose, well at least I think, it's easier to choose a kind of light crayon so you can go in and find those darker shades and do the shadows. Otherwise, if you start out with a really dark color, it might be hard to add those shades in unless you use a really dark brown or black. For this, I'm using a very light hand to distribute pink all over the 2 popsicles. This is kind of like the underpainting of my drawing, but be aware when doing this that you probably should leave some plain white spaces where the highlights are going to be, because like I did mention, you can't really scrape off the crayon entirely. So if you do want a true white area, be sure to leave those instead of coloring over everything. Then I'm doing the first layer of shading. I'm marking where some of the darker spots are going to be so they do look a little bit more realistic. And instead of just using a single pink for this, I did go over those dark spots with another pink that is a deeper value. So that made it easier to create the shadows than just pressing really hard with the initial pink. Also, I forgot to mention, I made my own Discord page for you guys to come and chat with me, ask questions, leave suggestions, and get to know the community a little better of people that you might become friends with who are also into my videos, YouTube videos in general, art, creating things. So if you want to join, go ahead and check out the link in the description box. It's totally free, and I'll always see when you send a message to me on there, and you know, other people can reply as well if you have an immediate question. I think it's just a lot easier than DMing on Twitter or Instagram. And here you can see I'm building up the shadows and highlights more and more. Moving on to the popsicle sticks, I used apricot and tan, I believe, and I just made some light spots and darker shadows to make them appear more 3-dimensional and realistic. So while drawing these, I was thinking of how many popsicles I used to eat when I was a kid, and now I eat a total of 0 a year, I think. That's so crazy to me that my taste buds and my diet has changed so drastically to where I used to not care at all about what I ate, and I definitely wasn't informed as a kid that sugar you shouldn't have a ton of every single day. Now, usually candy and popsicles, they don't really sound good to me ever. I know I sound like such a downer and a boring person, but I don't know what it is. I'd rather have fruit or vegetables or like chips, which I know are not healthy, than a sugary popsicle. But oh man, if you guys do get a chance to try a coconut popsicle, I don't know what brand it is, they're so good. Moving on to the second piece, I sketched I have to leave that in. I sketched a stack of macarons. I'm coloring the bottom one Purple Mountain's Majesty, kind of like a cool grayish purple. and then the middle one is some type of fuchsia. I can't see the color on it right now, and the top is a light pinky salmon. Basically, I did the same thing for this first step as I did with the popsicle at the beginning. I'm coloring in the areas very lightly and leaving a tiny bit of white space. After that initial step, I went in and did a little bit of texturing for the feet of the cookie part. I believe that's what it's called when I made these a few years ago, which they're really hard to make. They're harder to bake than they are to draw, I'd say, because they're so picky, they're finicky. So I just kind of did scumbly swirls for this. And I thought it looked pretty good, semi-realistic, so I'm happy with this effect that I used. I think it was really easier than trying to look at your reference photo and say, oh, there's shadow here and highlight here. Just kind of scumble it, and it'll appear as if you spent a really long time on it, even though you just kind of scribbled it in. After that, I did some outlining and made things darker, as you can tell, and I went back in the scumbled areas and tried to darken that in. So here you can see for the cookies, I made it darker around so it kind of looks like it has an outline, but not completely around the entire thing. There are some areas that aren't as dark as others. And then in the middle of the cookie, it's a highlight, a very light spot to make it appear 3D. So I'm doing that for all three. I'm repeating the same exact thing. So by the top one, I didn't even have to look at my reference images. I was just kind of making it up, and I thought it looked pretty good. And you can also see that I added the cream colors. I'm making these so colorful. I don't even know what flavors these would be. I think the top one would be strawberry. That would be really good. So this is my second drawing, and I did realize after filming this that I didn't add a shadow to the bottom to make them appear as they're sitting on a table and, you know, have a light cast on them. But okay, we'll just pretend that it's there. Now moving on to the final drawing, which I think is my favorite. Let me know below if you agree with me or if you like the popsicles or the macarons best. At the risk of sounding like a broken record here, I'm going in with that same light coloring all over, leaving some white areas for highlights, and then going in really dark where the shadows should be. I feel like I have asked this in a few of my past videos, but what do you guys like me to talk about in these voiceovers? Do you want me to explain exactly how I'm doing my drawing, what techniques I'm using, or would you want me to kind of talk about a certain topic? I know I'm never going to please everyone all at once, and what it really comes down to is what I feel like talking about, but sometimes I don't really know what I feel like talking about. If you want a mix of both, I could definitely do that as well. So just, you know, leave a comment below. I'm totally open to constructive criticism on how to improve my videos always. I know some people like just plain music in the background and no talking at all. That's not usually my style, but we could try some of those out, or maybe I could post those on IGTV where I do like a really quick drawing if anyone uses IGTV. So I'm not really going to explain how I colored this one in. I was looking at photos to reference, you know, how frosting looks and where I should put the highlights. A lot of times I'll look at other people's drawings and paintings as a reference, so I don't really know for sure if they have gotten the reference to be realistic, if that makes sense. So, you know, maybe this isn't as realistic as it could be, but I like the cartoony realism of it. And there's not really a whole ton to explain here. It's basically the same things I've been repeating over and over about shadows and highlights. So that's really all you have to pay attention to when you're doing a realistic drawing. It's a lot of patience and a lot of eyeballing things, making sure that you are paying close attention to where all the details are and not making up things in your head necessarily. If you see a shadow somewhere and in your mind you think, oh, well, that probably shouldn't be there, it's there. So definitely make it as dark as you can, and don't be afraid to go really dark or really light somewhere. And on a closing note, I do want to disclose my favorite donut flavor, which is double chocolate with chocolate sprinkles. Even though I don't don't even like chocolate ice cream or plain chocolate bars. I like chocolate cakes and brownies. Also, plain glazed donuts are really good. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know. It'll hopefully help the video get spread around to YouTube a little more so more people can see it. It really helps out. Also, if you never want to miss one of my new uploads, as I mentioned at the beginning, please turn bell notifications on and subscribe. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you back here next week for hopefully 2 videos, which will include a practice journal. Bye!